What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Booked. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira at UFC 281 in November. Israel Adesanya against Alex Pereira. It's a sweet matchup for the middleweight title. Undisputed UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya lost twice to Pereira in kickboxing. The first time in 2016 in China via decision, but the second time in 2017 in Pereira's home country of Brazil. Adesanya was knocked out via left hook in the rematch against Pereira, and so doing, Pereira became the first and so far only man to have ever knocked out Adesanya, albeit in kickboxing. The UFC has been looking to put this matchup together for about a year now, as Pereira entered the UFC in November of 2021 when he knocked out Andreas Michailidis via a flying knee knockout. Then he followed that up with a unanimous decision win, and then he took on Sean Strickland earlier this year when he beat him via left hook in the first round. Adesanya has been making mincemeat of his opponents for several years, and now it looks like the UFC has a very juicy matchup for the middleweight title. Well, case in point, this is what Adesanya tweeted about the fight in anticipation. "Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Bro, I said the same thing too. This ends here. Kill or be killed." The Adesanya and Pereira matchup is no doubt going to be one of the most highly anticipated bouts in UFC history. Who do you got for this fight? Let us know in the comments below. Jorge Masvidal thinks Nate Diaz has something up his sleeve for Khamzat Chimaev. Jorge Masvidal hasn't fought for several months, but he's definitely a beast in the welterweight division, and he's already taken on Nate Diaz. A familiar foe to Masvidal is Nate Diaz, and Diaz, who is also one of the longest tenured fighters in the UFC, has long been looking for a way out from his UFC contract, wants to fight it out, and he's been looking to do it about a year or so. He now has finally a matchup. He's going to take on Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 279 in September. For many, the matchup seems like the UFC is feeding Nate Diaz to the wolves, but Jorge Masvidal believes that Nate Diaz has something up his sleeve. Case in point, this is what Masvidal told MMA Fighting in a recent interview about it. "I think Khamzat probably wins, but I can see Nate putting him away in round 4 or 5 because Khamzat doesn't have that gas tank. He doesn't have that experience, and I think he gets too in the moment where he's wasting energy doing stupid. Nate is going to conserve all of that energy and get in his face when it counts. I think Khamzat should win, but I won't be surprised if Nate stops his ass." What do you think about Jorge Masvidal's comments here? Dana White thinks Jake Paul should leave his former CFO, Nakisa Bidarian. Just a week before the highly anticipated Jake Paul versus Hasim Rahman Jr. boxing match was set to take place, the fight was canceled. The head of Jake Paul's MVP organization, Nakisa Bidarian, was a former CFO of the UFC, and UFC President Dana White is no fan of his. Case in point, this is what Dana White stated about this to Fight Hub TV.
And then here's the reality, the Warlock is not a promoter, okay? This guy is, he said in a quote the other day, "I'm proud of him." You're proud of him? What are you, his father? I bet he's not proud of you. What did you do? Jake Paul needs to hook up with a real guy who can get done.
With the highly anticipated Jake Paul-Hasim Rahman Jr. fight now canceled, it looks like Rahman Jr. tried to prove a point and it backfired. Case in point, you can check out a clip of him trying to weigh in and missing weight for the canceled fight in a recent video posted on Twitter. This is how Ariel Helwani reacted to it. Hasim Rahman Jr. weighed in moments ago in New York City at 206.6 pounds. Original weight, 200. Then it got bumped up to 205. And then it all fell apart. Rahman wanted to prove a point by still weighing in, though this would have been deemed above the limit if the fight was at 205. And this is how Jake Paul reacted. Ha ha ha, karma's a What do you think of Dana White's comments about Bidarian? And what do you think of the latest news involving Rahman Jr.?
I'm the fucking best. I'm the fucking best. I'm the best there ever was. Best there ever was. I'm the fucking boss. I'm the fucking boss. Heavyweights. I own those.
Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on all the latest fight news. Anthony Smith responds after suffering an injury at UFC 277. Anthony Lionheart Smith, a former title challenger who went all 5 rounds against Jon Jones just a few years ago, well, he's recently opened up about his latest fight against Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 277. In that fight, Smith seemed to have suffered a leg break at the end of the first round against Ankalaev. He tried to fight through the injury, but he was unable to, and he was stopped by strikes. Many thought that the break or fracture came from a checked kick from Ankalaev, but Smith said it wasn't exactly that. Case in point, this is what he stated in a recent episode of the Believe You Me podcast.
I stepped on his foot and he pulled it out, and then it drug my body forward and my ankle kind of went all funny. And then right after that, he banged that inside kick real hard. So it's something like that. I know that in the media and whatever, it's been reported that it was from a kick. It's 100% not. It's not from a kick. It's just a luck.
Smith was on a roll going into that fight, having won 3 fights in a row until UFC 277, and he will now need surgery, and it's uncertain how long he'll be out for. What do you think of this news? Jon Jones reacts to training video criticism. Jon Jones' long-anticipated debut in the heavyweight division has yet to actually happen. Many people believe he's going to take on Stipe Miocic, although it's still unclear when that would actually happen. But there's been a lot of criticism over recent footage that has come out of him hitting pads. Check out the training footage here. He got a ton of hate, with some people saying he looks too slow. But this is how Jones responded to those claims via Twitter. The biggest complaint I hear from fight fans these days are, dude is taking too long. He's never gonna fight. Sounds like people are becoming impatient. It's a great problem to have. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure in one of Dana's last interviews he stated, John's ready to go. Just waiting to see what happens between Stipe and Francis right now. I'm focusing on controlling what I can. That's packing on the pounds. For all those who said I looked a little slow in my last training video, I appreciate the added motivation. I'll push harder. Can't wait for you all to see your boy in actual fight shape. Everything has its process. Jones goes on to say that he feels that the UFC will have him fight in November, and that Francis Ngannou could possibly come back sooner than many had thought. What do you think of all this? Thank you so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.